Have you ever wondered where the television signal you are watching is coming from?
Welcome to True North.
Good evening and welcome to Maine Watch. The Road Diaries pack is on the bus once again. This time heading to the most easterly point in the United States, where the rock-bound coast of Maine borders Canada.
This here is the American side, et voilà le bord canadien.
Along the way, we'll see how natural resources, the economy, and the younger population all combine to affect the future of our state. As they began their journey, I caught up with the group to tell a story or two and offer some insight into getting directions down east.
Production of Road Diaries is made possible in part through a television demonstration grant from Rural Development, part of the USDA.
But anyway, one of the things you're going to miss out on, because you have a professional driver, is stopping and asking directions. Now, down east, giving directions is a small cottage industry. It really is. There was a fellow who lived in our town, and he had his house was right at the intersection of the three main roads that went through the town. So you couldn't get through there without going right by his house. For that reason, he had probably given more directions to more people, some of whom unfortunately were never heard from again. But he would give directions. They say that there was a couple from Massachusetts pulled up in front of his house, and they wanted to get to Bangor, and he gave them directions, and the wife wrote them down, and when he got all done, they wound the window up and off they went. 5 minutes later, the same couple in the same car pulled right up in front of the house. See, he had very cleverly directed them right around in a circle. Well, when the wife realized what he had done, she wound that window down again. She gave him a tongue lashing so severe. I mean, they say it almost blistered the paint on the front of his house. She was so mad, she demanded an apology, but he refused to give it. He said, "Listen, dear, I just wanted to make sure you could follow directions before I wasted my time directing you all the way to Bangor." If you've ever heard a storyteller such as myself turn a good Maine yarn, you've probably heard that you can't get there from here, particularly down east. But plenty of people do get down east over the course of the year, including more than 3 million visitors to Acadia National Park alone. These visitors enjoy the view from Cadillac Mountain, then venture down to shop and stay in Bar Harbor. Down east is home for Caleb. He and his family have lived in Jonesport for most of his life. Our group is eager to explore not just Acadia and Bar Harbor, but also what lies beyond in Cutler, Machias, Jonesport, Eastport, and Lubec. Our first stop is Bar Harbor, and Steve Myrick is at the wheel while our usual bus driver, Dave Jewett, finishes a trip out of state. The group takes advantage of the drive to talk about what it means to be a Mainer.
There's kind of an endorsement of being a nonconformist in Maine, in a way. To be a little bit of a character, and people will still accept you, as being, okay. And I think some of those stories that get told are about characters that everybody knew, and accepted.
I kind of don't like that from away thing. It kind of makes us sound like we're elite and nobody else should be there.
I think it is.
I know, that's why I don't like it, I guess.
But it reflects some part of reality. personally, I didn't mind having a label, but the idea that I could live for 38 years and still be
Never
considered
be
an outsider,
considered.
that was like, wow.
I just don't think we should have to label them. But
I want to.
You're not.
I like
You're
it.
not lovely. You like it?
I like it. I think I like the phrase. I really like the phrase from away.
Yeah, I mean that's what I think. It depends on how it comes out
Yeah.
because it's not. It could be a put down.
It can be a
in
negative
in
connotation.
somebody's mouth, and in another
And
person's
other people, it's not.
Do you think it's a put down from me?
From you?
Yeah.
Everything's a put down.
Oh.
I love that.
I grew up a few streets from here. You're going to be passing by my street. Yes.
Is that where you live?
Yes. I'm a quote-unquote native. Yes. Now take a look.
Oh, this is beautiful.
Now take a look. As a child, I used to spend a considerable amount of my time down here, watching the tide go in, go out, so to speak, you know. But it's just beautiful. This is typical Maine scenes.
Tens of thousands of people walk the shore path in Bar Harbor every year. Local historian Deb Dyer is proud to show it off.
Years ago in the 1880s, the Village Improvement Association set up this, what we called back then, the towpath. Then we changed our name to the shore path.
It was during this time that Bar Harbor became a draw for visitors introduced to its beauty through landscape paintings of Mount Desert Island. Before painters began to capture this rock-bound coast, not many people knew how beautiful it was.
It wasn't really until about 1850 when two painters came here. One was the name of Thomas Cole and the other was Frederick Church. They came here and they painted what they saw, and so therefore people started wondering what this place was. And people started coming here. What we call the land boom era was the 1880s of Bar Harbor. Cottages started being built. Hotels started being built.
It must have been when the railroads came in then, that they really
Most of the people came by railroad to Mount Desert Ferry at Hancock, and they came across on steamers to Bar Harbor.
Oh, okay.
Or they would come by steamers from Boston on the J.T. Moss or any of these other steamers, and they would come to either the Maine Central Railroad or the Eastern Steamship Wharf, which we had in Bar Harbor at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So as we started being built, you know, the people started coming and the cottages started being built. Now you can imagine, you know, having those cottages and living in them for just 4 weeks out of the year.
So-called cottages were actually elaborate retreats for prominent people of the time. Although they came here to vacation, these affluent visitors had much to do with creating Acadia National Park and preserving the landscape we enjoy today.
I have a question though.
Sure.
Why is this pronounced Mountain Desert when it's not
Okay.
spelled like dessert? It's spelled like desert.
That's a very controversial subject, shall I say. Do you say?
People have corrected me when I call
That's-
it Mountain Desert.
That's great.
I've always called that.
Yeah, do you say tomato or do you say tomato?
Tomato.
Okay. Mount Desert or Mount Desert? It's both are correct because when Samuel de Champlain came here in 1604, he declared it Ile des Monts Déserts, the Isle of Deserted Mountains. But if you say Mount Desert Street or Mount Desert Street, it's which are correct. It's both are correct.
Acadia National Park is just a short drive from the shore path and downtown Bar Harbor.
I've always had the question asked to me, do I like having the park here? Because being a native, you know, people wonder, do you like that? Yes, I do. Because wouldn't it be terrible if you, couldn't let you enjoy the beauty of this island for what it is today and how well preserved it is?
Acadia was one of the first places both Sonny and Miyako visited after moving to Maine.
I've been to Acadia once, and it was pretty crowded at the time. We went to the Jordan Pond House.
Jordan Pond House, right? Had
And-
popovers.
Yes, I did. It was pretty crowded. So I wanted
Beautiful. Yep, that's, see, one of the Margaret Todd, I believe. That's a schooner, yes. Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that great? And you know what's so pretty is that in the evening, against the sky
Well,
with
they
the
usually don't
sails.
have sails that color, do they? That's beautiful.
About 90 miles from Bar Harbor is the small fishing village of Cutler. Here, the group comes across a road less traveled. Our bus twists and turns around quiet corners where traffic is an occasional lobster boat heading out of the harbor. Out on the dock, Mieko is recruited to get bait.
Looking good.
You can have beers if you want.
I'm feeling good. Lobster woman. Look at this.
We're allowed to fish 800.
Do we have enough?
With the new state laws we have now, that's...
Need a little bit more.
I don't think Mieko knows what she's in for.
No, I don't want to do that.
No, I don't either.
Would you like some help?
Most of the
Okay.
Year round. So, do you get as many lobster through the winter months as you
Are we done?
I think so.
best fishing season, the best time.
Good.
Very good. Give me
We
a
should
maintenance on our boat.
probably get going if you guys want to get back by
Okay.
11:15.
Lobstering is a significant part of the Downeast economy. Over a third of Maine's lobster industry is based here. The Cates family has been lobstering for 4 generations. Brian Cates started fishing at the age of 9 and is proud his son has followed in his footsteps.
Someone is going to be in charge of banding the lobsters, and I see you don't have gloves, so I'll get you a pair. Somebody will have to band lobsters, and somebody will have to help me tend the trap. So there's at least 3 different jobs that you guys can do.
This is hard work. You know, getting up at 3 and going out on a boat when it's dark out, and stuffing a sack with a dead fish, and pulling the trap out of water. Hard work.
Who's going to tend this trap? Are you?
Now, what am I going to do?
I'll show you as soon as the trap gets in.
There's nothing in there. No.
Okay, the first thing we need to do is tend the base sack. I'll just open the door for you,
Okay.
and you can go ahead and take that out.
Okay.
What?
Am I
And just
gonna-
dump that overboard, dump the old bait overboard.
Okay.
Okay. Look at this formation.
There it goes.
This efficiency.
That's perfect.
We're gonna
I wish I had this much help.
draw the sharks in for this?
I don't believe we will.
right.
Why don't you go ahead and tend the crabs? Just be careful they don't bite you.
And get them out of there?
Right out of here. Start with this end first.
Over this end over
Yeah,
here?
there's many in here.
All right.
Let's see the crawl.
Just be careful that they don't bite you.
Okay, now this one has got, he's got gray on it.
What, if you can hold them like this, that's even better because then there's no range of motion which they can bite you.
Okay, now I'm supposed to decide whether this is
You have to
deep or-
decide whether that's skeep or not.
Jeremy showed Shirley the difference between a hard and soft-shelled crab. Crabs must be males and have a hard shell in order to go to market.
Oh, that's a shedder. This is a hard crab. In fact,
Okay.
when this one sheds, it might be. When this one sheds, it'll be about this size crab. See, that's why they're so soft, is because they have to fill out the shell.
Oh, okay.
Lobsters do largely the same thing.
So I'm gonna throw him out.
We have to throw them out.
Okay.
I think we're done with this trap. We'll move on to one where we hope that there's more lobsters.
Never been lobster. It's quite an experience. It really is.
It used to be that when my dad tells the time when you couldn't catch a lobster in the harbor at all. There was, you couldn't, out of any number of traps, you couldn't catch a lobster. But now, it turns out this is some of the better fishing grounds when the lobster strike. What we're doing right now is going through the slow cycle, the downtime. And the lobsters are shedding their shells right now. They're doing what the crabs have already done. We've yet to even get our a decent haul yet. So we're still waiting for that.
Come on, honey, baby needs new shoes. I'm gonna get a lobster. There it is. Oh, I got a lobster. I got a lobster.
Sure do. Open the door.
Is it big enough? Is it big enough?
Oh, we gotta see if he's big enough to keep, right?
Yes, you do.
Okay.
Take this.
Just be careful of the claws.
Oh, he's beautiful.
Now take and hold and cradle the lobster just like this. Hold it just like that in your left hand. And we need to measure that carapace to see if it is at least a minimum of 3 1/4 inches long. But it cannot exceed 5 inch. So hold this in your right hand just like that.
Yeah.
And put this end in the eye socket. You kind of push the eye down, put it in the eye socket. And as that falls down on the back, you can see that this carapace is longer than 3 1/4 inches.
He's a keeper.
It's a keeper.
He's a keeper.
Or we'd also call it a counter.
Oh, okay.
So you can call it both. And so having determined it's a male, so the V-notch rule doesn't apply anyway, and having determined it's a counter, it's time to band it.
Oh boy.
So these are the banding pliers. Hold them in your right hand just like that. And put that end into a band.
Over here?
Yeah, just like that. And spread them apart.
Oh.
And then you hold this in your left hand just like so.
Yeah.
And down a little bit further so you actually cross the claws. And you're holding the claws firm.
Okay.
Yep, put it right on over.
There?
Yep. And turn it the other way. You've done this before.
Never.
Yes. Yeah, you must have. You must have.
Right now. It's in my jeans. It's in my jeans.
Really, really.
Do you hire women's German?
I might, if you're this good already.
Hey.
Perfect. Ready to go to market?
I'm glad we didn't go back without a lobster.
Oh, we wouldn't have gone back without a lobster.
Twice a week, TPS Industry from Jonesport comes to the wharf to pick up their lobster catch and bring them to market.
I would say the single biggest factor to having new entrants into the fisheries is the fact that in this town of Cutler there is absolutely nothing else to do. There's salmon pens, and then there's lobster fishing, and then there's the jobs that are associated with serving the people who fish, like there are carpenters and electricians and so on and so forth, but they're all dependent on the people who bring the capital in, which are lobster fishing. That's the only industry that we have in this particular area, and many other areas up and down the coast. When I get to the age where I'm going to have children, either they are going to have to move away and find a job somewhere else, or they'll become fishermen like just the same way I did and my father did and my grandfather did. And in order to do that, things have changed so rapidly that they'll have to apply and go through the apprenticeship program. They won't be able to do it the same way that I did, which is just more or less to naturally come up through and get your license and just go fishing. I hope to stay here for the rest of my life and retire here.
Back along the coast from Cutler is the town of Machias. Here, Road Diaries visits a bona fide Downeast celebration, the 26th annual Machias Wild Blueberry Festival. Caleb caught up with some of his friends, giving us the opportunity to hear more about day-to-day life for teens down east.
I'm just a ball.
I better be going.
Oh, guess what I got? I got good job working at the plant factory. Guess how much an hour? See you later.
Greta, we'll come by later.
All right, well, 10 an hour. No way. I only worked the tides, but I made $25 for 2.5 hours. Man! That's more than we're getting to market for 5.5 hours.
I know, I'm quitting that job, dude.
That's lame.
Caleb's friend Sebastian moved here from Germany with his parents.
for kids our age, like Germany was full of clubs and things for kids our age to do. Just, you could travel a lot of different places. And here, you can't really do much but drive around and burn gas. Yeah, which isn't a bad thing to do, but after about 2 weeks of doing it, you pretty much had your fill of it. That's what most of the kids around here do. They around like 6, 7, they get off of work and they drive over to the dike, put it in park, and just kind of sit there.
And just talk, chill out.
For about 5, 6 hours, and until somebody comes by and says, there's a party over at my place, or they just kind of go home when nobody comes by, or they just talk. I don't know. I've never gotten into that whole kind of thing. Have you now? No. I mean, you go to the movies once in a while. What else do we do?
You have to drive everywhere to get it, though.
In the long run, we always find something to do. Such as skateboarding. What, man? Playing soccer.
Yeah, we play soccer at the college.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, we didn't mention about what we've been trying to do. Like this summer, me and Caleb got together with 2 other girls out of our school, out of the film class, and we came up with the idea that we'd put this kind of like club together, kind of rave thing, which we'd throw these like parties every 2-3 weeks, kind of dance parties where all the kids from around the town could come and dance and have a fun time. And it was okay.
The hardest part was advertising because everything's so spread out.
And we've always said, like me and Caleb driving around, we've always said if anybody ever opened up a club here, they'd bound to make some money.
Anything.
Yeah, anything. Like just in this town, because since there's a college and everything, have to.
People are always looking for something to do, other than just party.
1 ticket is all that you are required to draw. Thank you very much. Katie Gardner of Whitneyville won the kayak, and Becky Theriot of China won the Old Town canoe. Let's give them a big hand, everybody. I think everybody's got sore hands around here today. Honest to God, I do. I think you got sore hands. You're afraid to put them together.
I know my parents are going to stick around and live here at least two more years, and I really don't know how many times I'm going to be able to handle coming back here. I don't know. Maybe once or twice a year, maybe at the most. Maybe I'll just, if for some reason, maybe like to see my friends, stop by, you know, show them all my nice cars and stuff, you know, that I acquired in Chicago.
And how about you, Caleb? I know you kind of want to go out. Any idea where you'd like to head yet?
I'm not sure. I know Portland is nice. Still looking around for some schools around the area. I don't know, somewhere where it's not too crazy, but not too boring.
After the festival, we welcomed back driver Dave Jewett and continued talking about what it's like for young people in Maine. Dave took us down Route 92 to Machiasport for a kayak tour of Machias Bay.
I like to be where the action is, so there's not much around, so I don't know, it's pretty hard.
Where do you find yourself going?
Well, I usually go to Ellsworth and Bangor a lot, or just hanging out with friends. Gotta have something to do all the time.
But that's kind of like where that Maine humor came from, right? Because you had to create your own, tell stories, sing songs, whatever. I think for the very reason Caleb's talking about.
Yeah.
And like the job, I mean, like Caleb's saying, you know, he's not going to stay there, and that's the way it is with us. Our children will probably have to leave the area to find a job to support themselves, because unless you're in a farming operation or some type of business, or a lot of times, you know, the people can't make enough to support themselves. The jobs aren't there. So that's the unfortunate piece of it, is that people are leaving, as I think a lot of the young people are leaving here. And it would be nice to be able to keep them around.
The reason that I feel so strongly about the area I live in is because of the day-to-day life. There aren't many jobs to choose from, and the pay is pretty low. I'm lucky to have a part-time job working at a local plant factory. Most stores and local places to work at, you have to be 18 years old. I think that the increase of stores or more entertainment for the teenagers would bring a lot more to the community. From traveling to different areas of Maine, I see that there are more possibilities for teens to work or have fun at. It really wouldn't take much to make the Downeast area more enjoyable for teens, making it a place to stay in instead of a place to leave to find a better job.
Key thing is, you want to be sure that your elbows are not down too low. If your elbows are down too low, you don't get any pushing power. If you do that, then you'll get a really good paddling stroke. These are very stable kayaks. We have 18-foot Hydra Sea Twins, and then we have 19-foot Necky Amaruks. We'll be walking down right over this way, so grab all of your dry bags and water bottles.
Hey, Jill, you were the one that was nervous about this.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm the one that's going to be going with the expert.
Oh, well.
We figured this
I
out.
just didn't want to be with you, Shirley.
Yeah, sure.
Washington County is quiet, a place where tourism is present but not necessarily expected.
What we'll do is everybody who's going to be in the back will be steering using the foot-controlled rudder pedals. It'll take us just a few minutes to get everybody ready and out there, but we'll be afloat before you know it.
That's fine.
All right.
All right. Oh, maybe.
How's the water?
Shirley, you need to pay me a little bit more for my jacket.
Okay, I'm
Like many people who live off the beaten path, Rick works a few jobs so he can stay and enjoy the quality of life he has here with his family.
Bye.
See you later.
Yeah, you can get your rudder down, Caleb.
Whoa.
Although it's relatively quiet in Machiasport, enough people enjoy being in the less traveled corners of Maine to keep his kayak touring business quite busy. Our group looks forward to paddling in Machias Bay.
I have wanted to do this for so long.
This is your first time?
This is my first time.
All right.
I may change my mind after this is over.
All right. The Hog Island. What a day, huh?
What a day is right.
Oh, yeah. Just a little. Yeah, you can pull that grab rope. Sit right, to pull you in.
Thank you.
Let me pull up.
Woo!
Welcome to Hog Island.
Thank you.
Part of the sea kayaking tour is a visit to Hog Island, a place where 3,500 years ago, Native Americans carved etchings into bedrock.
Some of you can walk down on this side eventually. Just don't walk on any of that coated ledge, though.
You've got the glacier marks, and then you've got the marks that the rock makes itself. This gray rock is a shale or slate combination, and it breaks out in triangles. And so the peckings, when you come to it, the petroglyphs are peckings. They're just dents in the rock. And there's a beautiful one right up here. It's a visionary shaman.
The island is said to be a national treasure, and the carvings are not easy to find. The term petroglyph means, quite literally, marks in stone, and these specific marks were most likely shaped by a shaman. This island represents a renewal of life. Fish and hourglass images are predominant here.
I feel the ancientness of this place. I love the nearly 360-degree view and the sense of, I don't know, I feel connected here to everything. I love it.
The trip down east was epitomized and personalized by the old clam digger I met when we were out on Hog Island. He was in his 70s and still digging. He was a tough old guy who'd seen good times and lean times and just kept on plugging. Kind of like down east itself. Natural majesty and economic scarcity rolled up to create this unique place. Perhaps more than any other region of Maine, down east is about place. Something that we all yearn for. From the honest and sturdy old capes to the beauty of Cobb's Cook and Machias Bays. None of the flashy gimmicks and plastic that dominate America here. Just a decent people clinging to a landscape and a sea both harsh and beautiful. I hope this place never becomes spoiled by the creeping East Coast megapolis, but I have my doubts. The locals are already being hurt by the rising costs of homes and land due to the demand for vacation homes. Not only is it hard to make a dollar here, it's difficult for young families to afford a home where they grew up. A shame. Tough sledding creates tough people, and I'd say down east has its share of both.
The road to Jonesport takes us where the Downeast coast reaches out into the Gulf of Maine. It's here in the salty air of Hancock and Washington counties where you'll find 80% of the nation's blueberry crop. One of the prominent growers is fourth-generation landowner Sanford Kelly, who shows us how blueberries are raked.
I'm going to let all of you do this, and I've got a special area I'm going to let you do, but I wanted to demonstrate here how I do it. Now you put your rake in, and see, when the blueberries, you don't rip them off, you work them off the bush.
So you're trying not to crush them, right?
Trying not to crush them. And then I always make the blueberries sing. And then I dump them real careful in the box. I see there's no mush,
Bruisers and losers.
no leaves. Now that blueberry is going to be a beautiful blueberry when it's put in a box.
Sanford is a small grower. His family has been harvesting this land since the late 1800s.
Okay, who wants to try this?
We're all going to try it. I'll try it.
Okay? Now, remember what I said. You put your rake in easy, and then just turn it up and pull it back, okay?
How far down do you go?
Well, you got to go right under them, so make sure you get your rake under the blueberries. And just put it in and tip it up, and then pull it back towards you. That's it. Now, there you go.
These are beautiful berries.
Good berries. Nice. Very nice. Very nice.
So how many people working for you now?
Oh, we have anywhere from 5 to 15.
Mr. Kelly's farm belongs to a co-op made up of small growers like himself. The Sunrise County Wild Blueberry Association gets his packaged berries to market. He's also a member of the Wild Blueberry Commission, which is actively involved in marketing and research for the industry.
If you're raking for money, you can't. you know, you're traveling
I wonder what you
150
do.
miles and you're
Jeremy, why
making
don't
money,
you
you can't
try
waste
your
time.
I wonder what you do it.
Where's that W4 from, Mike? Okay. I want to go back and show you on the line how that works.
Okay.
Do you actually ship your blueberries outside of the state? Do they
Yep.
go all over the
They
place?
ship some to California.
Who do you mostly sell to?
New England area. Our product, which I'm going to show you, is in Hannaford, Shaw's, Associated Grocers of Maine, Kennedy's has got some in Portland, and we may enter into Massachusetts if we can get enough blueberries.
Yeah. So once they're packaged here, how are they like transported to?
We freeze them, and then we take them to a freezer in Portland, and then we ship them out of Portland for the most part.
Sanford's berries are handled as little as possible after they're picked. They're carefully hand-sorted to make sure no green berries or leaves go into the packages.
So what are we doing? Picking out the green ones? Is that what he said?
See-bit.
You girls are doing a good job. This one's a little right.
Oh, I get that.
You guys don't get rocks in these, do you? I've racked a lot of potatoes.
Where do you put the green ones? Right in the side here?
Yeah, right in the
Oh.
If you see anything in there that's not a good berry, you have to pick it out and put it in here. You can see why that we are very careful on how we harvest them.
Washington and Hancock counties have 30,000 acres of blueberry fields, which produce 70 million pounds of berries a year.
How many years have you been farming blueberries?
Well, you know, I started harvesting blueberry when I was probably about 5 or 6 years old, you know. with
Was your father a
the
blueberry
family,
farmer?
okay? He wasn't a blueberry farmer either, but, you know, everybody picked blueberries in those days.
Yeah.
And that was very poor times. This was back in the 30s, actually. And then when I was in college, I picked blueberries, you know, summer times. And I liked it. There's something about picking blueberries that it's okay.
One question that keeps coming up is, what exactly does Downeast mean? I was happy to explain.
People have explained this to me 3 or 4 times. And
What's the explanation you've got?
what I was going to say is, I never can remember it, but it has something to do with the fishermen, the sailors, and the wind. And
Because the term Downeast was invented by the sailors coming out of Boston Harbor. They would come out of Boston Harbor if they were going to, and it applied not only to Maine, but also to the Maritimes. It was anything east of Boston. And the prevailing winds along the coast always ran along the coast like this. Sometimes they'd come out of the west, but most of the time they were always right along the coast. So that a trip to Maine or to the Maritimes was always a downwind sail to the northeast. I had a great-grandmother who would, till the day she died, she lived to be over 100, till the day she died, she would always refer to up to Boston, down to Maine. And we would correct her. We'd say, no, we used to call her Mamie. No, Mamie, it's down to Boston and up to Maine, but no, sir, not to her. It was always up to Boston and always down to Maine. Now, as far as where does Downeast begin, they say people in Portland realize you probably can't even begin to get a good whiff of Downeast till you get to Rockland. And then people in Rockland will say, oh no, you got to go over the river in Belfast. And then people in Belfast, oh no, you got to cross over Route 3 in Ellsworth if you want to get down east. And then people there will say, oh no, you got to go over the bridge in Sullivan. And then, of course, no, you know, you got to go beyond Gouldsboro, you got to go beyond Steuben, and don't call it Steuben. Oh, there are people who do. They say, are you familiar with this town? Oh yeah, we've been to Steuben a lot. Oh, really? You sound like you're real familiar with it. But it is one of those questions. Where does it begin? Where does it end?
It's kind of like the fellow from Jackman. I'm from Skowhegan. The fellow from Jackman said, where are you from? I said, Skowhegan. He said, you're one of them flatlanders.
Yeah, it's all relative. Anyway, any other words that you've come across?
from away, since I'm from away. And I remember people telling me, you'll never be a Mainer.
No.
So I accept that.
Right. There was a fella who once said to his neighbor, look, I know that I wasn't born in Maine, so I'll never be considered a native. But he said, I married a Maine girl, and all 4 of my children were born right here in the state of Maine. He said, and yet I know for a fact that the people in this town don't consider them natives either. And his neighbor said, of course not. And he said, well, why not? He said, well, if my cat had kittens in the oven, I wouldn't call them biscuits, now would I? So, the idea of from away, you know, I guess all the human race is divided into 2 groups, Mainers and people from away.
Our group of Mainers and people from away were about to go as far east as they could get, to Eastport and Lubec. Lubec is separated from New Brunswick, Canada by a short bridge spanning the bay. The drive over gave us time to talk about our impressions of eastern Maine.
If there was any place in the world that I was going to live other than where I'm from, it would be Downeast. I like it down there. It's great. The country's great. People are tough, gritty, they're friendly. They mind their own business. They find a way to make a living. They don't whine and complain too much. I think it'd be a good place to live because I spent time down here raking berries.
This is like my area was 20 years ago, before it, because it's getting, not so much as the Portland area, but Camden, Thomaston, and that area is getting developed. There's more open space down here. You get a feeling of spaciousness that I just don't get at home. And I haven't been down here for a few years, and I have forgotten how absolutely gorgeous it is.
I saw a lot of similarities between the fishermen that we saw yesterday and the farmer that we saw today and the farmers in Aroostook County, and the generational piece of it too. The fisherman yesterday was so proud of his sons coming into the business, and that's just the way it is in potato farming. A lot of that is generational. And the farmer today, Sanford, he was so cute because he was just a typical farmer. I mean, it was all he could do to take the time out to talk to us because he's got work to do. He's a busy man, you know, and that was so nice of him to do all that for us. But you could tell he was like, no, we got to take care of these berries, and he's just really proud of his business and what he does.
I think the thing that I noticed both yesterday with the lobsterman and today with the blueberry farmer was they found a lifestyle they love. You know, you could see that. It was a hard living, but people, you know, they both seem to be committed to it, you know, and they've done it for years and are happy. I mean, that's the sense I got, that this is really satisfying to them. They're proud of it. So.
I'd say that's one thing I noticed about these people down here. They seem pretty much satisfied.
They're content.
With their life.
Yeah, it's like making a decision about how you want to live and sticking with it.
They're not all wound up like, you know, the way we live today. A lot of people are wound up all the time.
I wondered though about the age issue, because I was thinking that this is probably also an area that's losing a lot of its younger people.
Well, Jeremy's wife was saying last night that they come back, just like a lot of times they do in the county. They leave, but they come back. But unfortunately, it's getting to be later and later, like they might be retirees, you know, because just like the county, the jobs aren't here to keep a lot of the young people, unless there's a family business or something like that in the area.
Yeah, I could see that.
And I think it can make you a better person for leaving. Because I went out to California and I met a lot of people and I saw a lot of things, and I really think I came back. For me personally, it was a good move, but when I came back to stay.
For the majority, most people want to lead a faster pace of life than what we can offer. I mean, I'm content to be where I am and enjoy my time at the lake, or I don't have to have all that stuff on a regular basis.
I think it's been in the interests of people to, whether it's the economic interests or whatever, of people to convince young people that satisfactory existence is not to be had in a backwater or in a rural place. I don't think that's true, personally. I think that's a long ways from the truth, but I think, you know, whatever mediums are influencing kids today, television, whatever, music, you know, it's leading them to believe that that's the case, that you need to be where there's a lot of action and a lot of money and
fast pace
to live a decent.
I look at my nephews, and they love hunting and fishing, and they love Maine, and they've made it so that they're able to stay here. Will their children be able to do the same thing? I don't know.
One of the major keys to the future of the area lies in the fact that Eastport is the deepest natural port on the East Coast. As the most easterly point in the country, it's also the closest U.S. port to Europe. 900-foot vessels dock here regularly. The expectation is that this port can bring economic vitality to the area that's been lacking, as traditional jobs in fishing and factories are lost. Bob Peacock's grandfather started R.J. Peacock Canning Company in 1928, which Bob still owns. He brought us out to experience one of the largest whirlpools in the world, nicknamed the Old Sow.
This is the Old Sow, the whirlpool.
This right here is?
Yeah, we'll be in a minute.
Oh.
What causes this?
All right, you've got the water here is like a big bowl. It's almost 300 feet deep. Right now it's 210 feet right here. 224. It's shallower, 100 feet all the way around it. And you got a huge bay up in here, Passamaquoddy Bay, and you got Cobscook Bay here, and you got the big bay up behind Indian Island here, and all the water's coming in from 3 different directions. So it just starts it spinning in a whirlpool. Yeah, that's what it amounts to.
I'd never heard of that. Wow.
Well, look at the change in the water right there.
Yeah,
like
So what you get is mixing currents. So right now, the tide's flooding. It's coming in and going up. We're in the flood current right now, going up this way. On this side over here, you have a back eddy coming the opposite direction. And then you got the tide's flooding down this way, which is pushing in this way. So what you get is a series of small whirlpools that eventually, depending on the time, build up to one big whirlpool.
What would it be like out here if it was really high seas and high tide?
It's bad. It's really bad. Yeah. I'll just put her in neutral here and watch it happens.
We're an Old Sow.
We'll go over here where it's even stronger in a minute. Now you can see right here. You can see the real whirlpool effect because right here the current's going hard, probably 6-7 knots to the north, and over there it's going 6 or 7 knots to the south. So we get right in the middle of it. We'll see what happens. So I'm in neutral now.
Yeah.
Just Mother Nature.
You have the boat in neutral?
Yeah.
And it's this is
just Mother Nature.
This is the eddy that's doing
Yeah.
this. That's incredible. Wow.
These waters are home to the aquaculture industry as well. The spread of infectious salmon anemia, or ISA, has forced many employers to cut jobs. Bob's business has diversified out of Maine into other countries. He sees a growing world population that will affect the future of this area.
Right now we have a population of just under 300 million. By 2050 we'll have a population of 400 million. That's 100 million people in the next 48 years. Where are they going to go?
They're not going to come to Maine.
And they said the tourists are coming farther north every year. I mean, they used to come.
We still haven't made it to the county.
They've made
Like within 10 years, I bet we'll see a change, big change. 10 to 15
Oh yeah,
years.
it's huge. It's coming. I see it changing so fast here. It's unbelievable, and not for the better. The line was Kittery, then it was Wells and Ogunquit, then it was up to Portland. Now it's up to Yarmouth, Freeport. It's the line's coming north. We call it the Sioux line. How many lawsuits are filed in court? You look at when you see a big jump, you'll know. Well, it's hit here. It's time to move.
See, I don't
It's
know.
actually true.
I don't necessarily think that's going to happen. I think there are other factors that are at play. I'm just not so sure.
No ships are in port today, so on our way to tour a salmon pen, Bob brings us close to the new terminal, where we can see firsthand how deep these waters really are.
So you got 94 feet right here. And every other place in the country, including Los Angeles, is trying to find deeper water so they can build a port, a deeper port. And this one is, right now we got 89 feet of water right here. So the taxpayers of Maine paid $18 million for this dock, and the facilities up behind it. And it was one of the best investments they ever made, I'll tell you.
Why?
It's brought a lot of work to this area, a huge amount of work. And it's going to bring more. If we get railroad with this, we'll have everything. We're going over to the salmon farm right here, and then we'll go down to the Lubec.
Salmon farms are struggling with ISA, which is killing thousands of fish. This is especially hard for local fishermen banking on aquaculture to preserve their way of life.
I was very torn about aquaculture when it started. My grandfather was a boat builder, everybody in my family were fishermen, and I was very torn of how do I get my son out on the water and make a living? And aquaculture is one way to do it. We still make our living off the water. Not the traditional way, but we still get to be out on the water.
That's what I'm starting to see. I mean, if one of the things that's coming clear to me on all of these trips is this push-pull between the traditional Maine and the new Maine, and it takes place in many different ways. And one of it, this is another example of it, I think.
I still get to come out here and make my living like Grampy did.
Do people look down on this? You know, this kind of way of farming?
No, I don't think as much, especially if you grew up here. Back in the 80s when the sardine factories all closed up, everybody was on welfare. Not a good way to live. You never get ahead. You basically fall behind all the time. When aquaculture come along, there was jobs.
I feel very sad walking through the town of Eastport.
Yes.
There's a sad feeling there because this is Rockland maybe 30 years ago. And I really, as a Mainer, I don't think the answer is in the tourist industry because you're going to be working in a gift shop with minimum wage or cooking in a restaurant and you're not going to be able to afford a home or even an apartment to live as the real estate and values go up. I don't know what the answer is.
You can look around here. There's a house over there. It's about $500,000 house. Nobody in Eastport's buying that.
It's probably
look over here. There's another $250,000 home. Nobody in Eastport's buying that. And it's gonna be hard for the next generation to even buy property here and live here.
They're not going to be able to enjoy the way of life that you grew up with.
Yep.
And that is sad.
It's a catch-22 thing. All the kids moved to Portland to find a job, and our population has basically gone down every year for the last 20 years.
What do you see? I mean, it's starting to worry me, and I...
It's sad. It's sad.
She's been here two whole years.
I want my kids living next door to me. I don't want them moving to Boston or wherever. I prefer to have the family with me.
You keep projecting the current trend. What it leads to is people get older and older. The areas will be populated by older and older people.
Yeah.
The young people will be gone. Eventually, those older people will die. What happens then? What happens to the area? What happens to the traditions?
I don't think the main character lends itself well to sitting in front of a telephone in a cubicle. I just don't see. I see the independent Mainer not happy in that.
No. There are other things, Julie.
But I mean, that seems to be the answer in a lot of places.
Now.
That's what's happening in a lot of places. And I'm not knocking that. There's some people who don't mind that and the benefits, and it's a good. But a lot of people just are not happy doing that.
The worst northeaster that we have in the wintertime, when you're out on the water, is a good day. Any day on the water is a good day. A day in a cubicle, to me, would not be a good day.
On the next edition of Road Diaries, follow the bus to our last stop, Aroostook County, where few in our group have traveled.
Every other place we've gone, I had connections, but I'm going to be seeing this just like you and Sonny. I'm going to be the one from away here.
All on the next episode of Road Diaries.
Production of Road Diaries is made possible in part through a television demonstration grant from Rural Development, part of the USDA.
The lighthouse is on the Canadian side.
La lumière de maison, c'est-tu le bord canadien? Mais je sais pas si c'est le nom d'une lighthouse. Lumière de maison, je ne sais pas. Et puis,
hey, me play!
Good eye. Thanks. How about blue one? I want blue one. Blue one. Blue one? No blue one.
Buster Bourbon, come in Bourbon. Got a bourbon?
This will be it?
We are going to stop and dispatch the strike team in just a few minutes.
Tough sledding creates tough people, and I'd say Downeast has its share of both.
little message in the bottle for courtesy.